If you enjoy intelligent discussions about film, media, and the forces that shape the stories we consume, follow Gen X Star UK and join the conversation. Why Straw deserved an Oscar nomination, and why it didn't. When discussing contemporary filmmakers who have built an undeniable cultural footprint, it is impossible not to mention Tyler Perry. Over the past 2 decades, Perry has created an empire that spans film, television, theater, and streaming. Yet despite his enormous popularity and influence, his work has historically been overlooked by the most prestigious awards institutions in Hollywood, particularly the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and the Academy Awards. The film Straw reignites this conversation. While critics and audiences often debate Perry's style, Straw demonstrates something many awards voters tend to underestimate: Perry's ability to craft emotionally direct, socially grounded storytelling that resonates deeply with audiences who rarely see their lived experiences reflected on screen. The question then becomes unavoidable. Why was Straw not nominated for an Oscar? A film rooted in human reality. At its core, Straw is not merely a narrative, it is a social reflection. Perry's work frequently explores themes of hardship, survival, family conflict, faith, and resilience in Black communities. In Straw, these themes are distilled into a story that feels intimate and urgent. The film forces audiences to confront uncomfortable realities, systemic inequalities, emotional trauma within families, the invisible weight carried by marginalized communities, and the quiet strength required to endure them. Rather than presenting trauma as spectacle, Perry frames it through human vulnerability. The characters in Straw are flawed, emotional, and deeply human. Their struggles are not abstract. They mirror the everyday experiences of millions of people. This is precisely where the film's artistic strength lies. Many Oscar-winning films celebrate grand historical narratives or highly stylized performances. Straw, however, operates in a different space. It captures the emotional texture of ordinary life. That type of storytelling may not always appear flashy, but it is profoundly impactful. One might ask, is the purpose of cinema to impress critics or to speak truthfully to the people who see themselves in it? Performances and emotional authenticity. One of the strongest elements of Straw is its performances. Perry has long had an instinct for directing actors toward emotionally raw performances that feel authentic rather than theatrical. The emotional intensity within the film invites viewers to empathize rather than observe from a distance. Instead of characters existing as archetypes, they feel like real people navigating impossible circumstances. That level of emotional honesty is not easy to achieve on screen. It requires trust between director and actor, and Perry, often underestimated as a filmmaker, demonstrates a deep understanding of how to build that trust. If Oscar nominations are meant to celebrate powerful storytelling and compelling performances, why should a film like Straw be excluded from the conversation? The cultural bias in awards recognition. The answer may lie not in the film itself, but in the broader politics surrounding the film industry. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has historically faced criticism for failing to recognize films created by Black filmmakers or films that speak primarily to Black audiences. While the Academy has made efforts in recent years to diversify its membership, long-standing patterns remain difficult to ignore. Tyler Perry's films occupy a unique position. They are immensely successful with audiences, but frequently dismissed by elite critics. This divide raises a difficult question. Who decides what qualifies as prestige cinema? Is it the cultural institutions that have historically controlled Hollywood narratives, or the audiences who connect deeply with the stories being told? Some critics argue that Perry's films rely too heavily on melodrama. Others suggest that his production style, often fast and economically efficient, does not align with the polished aesthetic associated with awards campaigns. But these criticisms can also mask deeper biases. For decades, Hollywood has celebrated directors whose work centers on niche artistic experimentation, while overlooking filmmakers who speak directly to mass audiences, particularly audiences of color. The politics behind the Oscars awards season is not purely about artistic merit. Campaigning, studio influence, marketing budgets, and industry relationships play enormous roles in determining which films receive nominations. Major studios spend millions of dollars promoting their films to Academy voters. Screenings, networking events, advertising campaigns, and strategic positioning all influence the outcome. Independent productions or films outside the traditional prestige pipeline often struggle to compete in this environment. This leads to another important question. Are the Oscars rewarding the best films of the year or the best campaigns? In Perry's case, his independence may paradoxically work against him. He operates largely outside the traditional Hollywood studio system, producing many of his projects through his own infrastructure. That independence is admirable, but it also means he does not always participate in the political machinery that drives awards recognition. Audience impact versus critical prestige. Despite the lack of Oscar nominations, Tyler Perry's cultural impact cannot be denied. His films have created opportunities for Black actors, built one of the largest independent studios in the United States, provided representation for audiences often ignored by mainstream Hollywood. While critics debate artistic merit, millions of viewers continue to support Perry's work because they see themselves reflected in it. And perhaps that raises the most important question of all. Does a film truly need an Oscar nomination to validate its cultural importance? A conversation worth having. The absence of straw from the Oscar nominations should not simply be dismissed as routine awards politics. Instead, it should encourage a broader conversation about how the film industry evaluates storytelling, whose voices are valued, and which audiences are considered worthy of representation. Cinema is not only about aesthetics, it is about whose stories are allowed to matter. Tyler Perry has spent years ensuring that stories from marginalized communities are not only told, but widely seen. Whether or not the Oscars recognize that contribution, its significance remains undeniable. If you enjoy this kind of cultural analysis, follow Gen X Star UK and listen to our podcast, Please, No Drama.